Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Washington for talks with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House.
The two leaders are expected to hold talks on tariff cuts, trade and recent deportation of Indians from the United States. The Trump administration has complained that India has high tariffs that lock out U.S. imports. Apart from tariff cuts, Prime Minister Modi is expected to propose increased energy and defense imports during his two-day visit.
Now, shortly after landing in Washington, D.C., Prime Minister Modi met with newly appointed Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. This signals the Trump administration's strategic focus on strengthening U.S.-India intelligence ties.
Members of the Indian diaspora chanted Bharat Mata Ki Jai and Modi as Prime Minister Modi arrived at the Blair House, the U.S. President's guest house. The Indian Prime Minister expressed gratitude for the warm reception in the winter chill.
Now, Donald Trump is in the fourth week of his presidency, and officials say this is the earliest in an American president's term that an Indian Prime Minister has visited him.
The Prime Minister's visit to the United States also comes in the wake of the recent deportation of Indian detainees that has sparked concerns in New Delhi. The two leaders have built a rapport over the years, which was built by back-to-back visits to each other's countries.
Prime Minister Modi's trip to the U.S. comes after his visit to France that ended on Wednesday. During his visit, Prime Minister Modi inaugurated an Indian consulate in Marseille City and addressed the Franco-Indian Economic Forum in Paris, along with French President Emmanuel Macron.
And for more on this, we're now being joined by Mr. Gaurav Sansanwal from Washington, D.C. He is a fellow for the India Chair at the Center for Strategic and International Studies and deals with U.S.-India energy partnership and commercial policy. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA this morning.
Thanks, Jyotsna. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me here.
Now, sir, I want to begin by asking you, of course, we've seen great bonhomie between the two leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump. How do you think the India-US partnership will evolve under Trump 2.0?
No, I think, as you rightly said, diplomacy is as much about chemistry as it is about mathematics. We are all looking forward to seeing how the partnership evolves in what you rightly described as, 2.0 of the Trump-Modi era of this partnership. So I think really looking at it, trade is top of the agenda. And when we think of the trade and commercial ties between the two countries, it's important to remember India is on the trade surplus is in India's favor. So which essentially means that India is selling more to the US than it is buying. And, President Trump, who feels that he's been elected with the mandate to reduce the trade deficit, and it's an issue that he deeply cares about, is obviously looking to sell more to India. And so we may see, what may be described as some quick wins in the energy and defense sector. Particularly nuclear energy and LNG exports from the US are high on the agenda there. But having said that, this is also an opportunity from the Indian vantage point, to manage the relationship early on. And that, is about a talent. Obviously, skilled Indian talent is critical to, shoring up manufacturing in the US, which is, again, high on President Trump's agenda. And so India is going to try and position itself as the provider of that talent and is going to look to continue that. And then secondly, it's also about technology. And India is going to look to continue the momentum it's developed in attracting semiconductor investments from the US. Amongst a host of other sectors. So trade, technology, talent, managing differences, but at the same point of time, building the relationship forward. I think that's how the two leaders would be looking at it. Yeah.
Of course, and also, as my colleague just mentioned, and you also described the bilateral ties. But that being said, do you think there's a potential point of friction that can be maybe crossed over? We know the immigrants issue is, of course, there. You talked about the Indian talent that is used in America. Do you think there is any point of friction that can arise and that could be overcome between the two nations?
Well, yes, of course. Tariffs is, going back to Trump 1.0 administration. there was a medium intensity trade war in some ways because you had America increasing tariffs and then India responding as well. And once again, now we've seen obviously tariff imposition on steel and aluminum, and aluminum especially impacts India. So there is that relationship to manage. And obviously, the US has also complained about, India's relatively high level of general tariffs, which in the previous administration, as you may remember, Harley-Davidson issue was pretty sensitive. So I think in terms of the difference of opinion, yeah, I think India's high tariffs and reducing that is going to be one leverage that President Trump would look to exercise in the meeting. But India is going to hope that, when we think about the geopolitical competition between the US and China, India sees itself as a provider, as a partner that can provide a lot to the bilateral relationship. And I think there is going to be hopefully some recognition of the fact that, when we talk about friendshoring and nearshoring, those are aspects that to what extent those aspects can help India would remain to be seen. So yeah, you rightly said the immigration issue is sensitive, but the tariff issue is also there. But these are leverages that President Trump will look to use, and India will, on the other hand, look to see if it can get more
Right.
technology and it can get more from President Trump on other issues. Yeah.
Right, and of course, we'll be looking forward to all that and how that plays out when Mr. Narendra Modi he meets and talks with Donald Trump. But thank you so much, Mr. Gaurav Sansanwal, for coming on the show and giving your perspective.
Yeah. No, it was a delight. Thank you.